You wouldn't tell him before you just like walk in here and see this shit. You wouldn't warn him. That is a fucking dick move, man. Jesus Christ. I just saw that Michael Bay is attached to the Black Sails. Fucking hell. I don't know what level they say he's an executive producer, but that can mean a lot of things. I'll give an example about how misleading these credits can be. Do you know who Jane Espenson, I think is how you pronounce her last name? I'm terrible with names. Very productive Hollywood screenwriter. She's got 38 writing credits. I would assume there have been more, but a lot of those are like, well, one writing credit is Once Upon a Time, but she wrote 30 scripts, right? So it's that deal. She tends to stick around with shows for long periods of time. Like I know she did Eureka, she's done Torchwood, anything you can imagine. She's probably written an episode of it. Did an episode of Jessica Jones, you know. So when the people who were going to make Warehouse 13, they had a pitch, and then they got greenlit based on this pitch. They needed somebody to write the pilot episode, and then they were going to, write the pilot episode, submit it, get the script approved, shoot the script, and then the Sci-Fi Channel decide whether to go to series. So you don't have a writer's room yet. And and most of these people who create shows, Jonathan Nolan, David Chase, David Simon, these people are screenwriters, so they write their own pilot script. But in this particular case, the person who created Warehouse 13 he wasn't a writer. So he had to hire just some random freelance writer to write this pilot script, get everything greenlit, shoot the pilot, get the series approved get the pilot approved to series. Then they would hire a team of writers. And then those team of writers would write the rest of the season, right? That's the process. So they just hired Jane Espenson just as a freelance, mercenary to just write this pilot script. They said, here's what we need. Here's the pitch. Here's the show Bible. Boom. Handle this. So she did. She wrote the pilot script. And so long story short, it became a series. And she never worked on the series again. She only wrote the pilot script. But because she wrote the pilot script, she was listed as one of the co-creators. She was listed as one of the creators of Warehouse 13. And to a certain extent, she was. I mean, yes, she was following an outline, and she was following the show Bible, and she was following the pitch and all this stuff. But I'm sure she had something to do with the characterization of some of these characters, lines of dialogue. Like, she injected some of her lifeblood in. I know how the writing works. And you get a ton of notes. You make these changes. You send it back. I'm sure they had very specific ideas what they wanted. But I'm sure she injected some of her lifeblood into this. A few things, even if it's just one character quirk. Like somebody, always like stutters when he's around women or something. She just maybe threw that in there, and then they use that. Maybe the fact that the male agent was a recovering alcoholic. Maybe she put that in there. Who knows? Just a little bit of characterization, and that ended up they had plot lines based on that, right? So you see how there could be a ripple effect. Point being, she had nothing to do with the series after writing this pilot script, and I think it ran for at least 5 seasons. It ran for a really long time. And so people were tweeting her when the last episode of the series was about to air. And I saw her replying to people, and they're like, look, I thank you for like congratulating me on this, but I've literally had nothing to do with this series. Not a single thing to do with the series since I wrote the pilot script like 8 years ago, right? So she was getting those checks, because if you get that creator credit, you get that creator check. And the check's very nice. Although it wasn't a super property, it's not like Lost. The dude co-created Lost, he made a ton of money. But still, nice little chunk of change. So that shows you could have a created by credit and then literally have nothing to do with the fucking series. Jonathan Glassner was very integral in Stargate SG-1 for the first 3 seasons, left the show after the 3rd season, got a credit for the last 7 seasons of the series as a co-creator. Had nothing to do with the last 7 seasons. In fact, they retconned a couple of things that he put in there with his scripts because they didn't like what he had done. So actively retconned his ass. So I don't know how much impact Michael Bay's had on the series. But, I can feel his stink on it. Some of the like grandiose over the top things have been happening. I can feel a little bit of this. Yeah, I can see his influence. Women get treated better. So, we haven't had a slow pan up somebody's ass yet. So, he's not directing anything. But, hell, fucking Bryan Singer helped create House, and he directed the pilot episode of House. I don't think he had a damn thing to do with it ever since that first episode, right? So, another example. Anyway, you're not here for this walk down Hollywood Lane. You're here for episode, let me see, what are we up to? Episode 6 of Season 2 of Black Sails. Let's get into this shit.